Getting ungated on Amazon can feel impossible when you're new, but it's one of the biggest keys to unlocking real profits and scaling fast. In this video, I'll break down exactly how to get ungated the right way, step by step, so you can start selling products in those brands and categories that felt almost impossible to get approved in. So let's go ahead and get into it. So before we get into it, what exactly is ungating? So whenever you find a product you want to sell, you might be gated or ungated. Gated means you are not approved to sell this product, and ungated means you can go ahead and sell it right away. But when you're gated, Amazon's going to ask you for a couple of things. Amazon's going to give you a list of requirements, and you have to submit an invoice that meets all of those requirements in order to get approved to sell that brand or within that category. Amazon could ask for 10 units, 100 units, all the way up to 400 units for any given brand. Then you have your categories such as grocery, human ingestibles, pet food, baby products. These are all categories which you need to get approved in before selling brands under those categories. Now, why Amazon gates people and products is to prevent counterfeits from entering the market and making sure that people are getting a legit supply chain before selling this stuff. Amazon does not want false or bad actors on their platform when they're trying to provide the best service to every customer on the market. In just a second, I'm going to share my screen and show you guys exactly what to do, specifically new sellers, to help you get ungated and make this approval process a bit easier as you start to grow your account. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and then let's get into it. Okay, so here we have this product, and this just isn't any product. I selected this product for a specific reason. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the ungating requirements for this exact product. So for this exact product, we do not need to get ungated in the brand. We just needed a pet food ungate. So in order to get a pet food ungate, Amazon will request 10 units of the pet food. Then you got to submit your pictures, which it'll ask for in the ungating application. Currently, as of last week, PetSmart and Target are working for the pet food category ungate. You only need 10 units, so this is very straightforward and simple. And on top of that, as of last week, for grocery category ungates, you can use Target as well. Now, for human ingestibles and pet ingestibles, you're going to have to go through a bigger website such as a wholesaler or distributor because they are both 400 unit ungates. This is for pet ingestibles and human ingestibles, which are two of the most profitable categories on Amazon. But I'm also going to show you guys how to get past those as well. So back to the listing. Why exactly did I pick this listing? So for new sellers, it's almost impossible to get ungated. You probably feel like you're gated in everything and there's no products you can even sell because you find all these profitable products and you're just gated and your applications are getting denied. So what's the reason for that? Now, back when I first started Amazon, you could submit an invoice for Target for almost everything and you'd get approved. Amazon's been changing over the years and there's new ways we have to go about this. So what I've noticed is the ease of ungating comes with the age and selling history of your account. So what we need to do is find as many products and brands that we can automatically sell, which is auto ungated, and sell these products to build up our account history with Amazon. Currently, if you're a new seller, Amazon has no trust built with you, so they're going to restrict and lock down as many things as possible until you can prove to them that you're a legitimate, trustworthy seller on their platform. So with that being said, we have this listing because there are lots of new sellers on this listing. So when we scroll down in Seller Amp, we can see 3 reviews on this seller, 2, no reviews, 42, no reviews, 11, 1 review, 7 reviews, and the list goes on. We have a ton of sellers that are brand new to the platform and they are currently selling this listing. The main thing here is it tells us that this product was easy to get approved in. So what you can do to find other products to sell that isn't going to require a lot of effort to get approved in is reverse sourcing all of these sellers. So what I would do is just open up these sellers' storefronts in Seller Amp just like this and just find anyone from 0 to 10 reviews. And we can see exactly what these sellers are selling. So this seller in specific has 4 different SKUs from this brand. Now this seller has 0 views. They have a plethora of brands that you could most likely sell. This seller, they have a plethora of brands as well. We can probably sell a lot of these, or they are easy to get ungated in. So what you're going to do is reverse source these sellers and try to find as many products that you can get approved in instantly, or they are only 10 unit ungates that accept invoices from retailers. Now, how do you know that? So when you go to the ungating application, when you hit manual ungate, so I'll show you exactly where to hit that. So you see right here where it says eligibility, you can sell this product. If you're gated, it's going to say manual ungate. Click that and it'll bring you to the page to apply. Then we can go in and see if we can get auto approved or if these are only 10 unit ungates, 100 unit ungates, or whatever. If it's anything above a 10 unit ungate, chances are you will not be able to use retail websites to ungate, such as Target, Walmart, Home Depot, etc. What you'll have to do is find a wholesaler or a distributor that has easy access to, such as Frontier Co-op Wholesale or Winers. Those are both great websites that'll easily allow you to hit that 100 to 400 unit Ungate criteria. Now, retail websites still definitely do work for ungating. It just varies product by product, brand by brand, and it'll tell you what you need on that invoice to meet those requirements. So when you find these sellers and you go in and you find a couple products that you can sell, what we're going to do is buy as many products from these new sellers that are somewhat profitable. You don't want to lose money, but you're probably not going to reach margin on all of your products just because they're going to be inflated with newer sellers, and those products tend to tank in price. But that's not the goal here. We're not trying to make as much money as possible in the beginning. We're just trying to establish our account with Amazon, build some trust so they allow us to get auto approved in more brands. So what I would do is set your minimum ROI to about 10 to 15%, just so you have a cushion and you can get reviews on your account, build some account health, and then Amazon will trust you more once you start selling through these products. Now, once you do about 5 to 10K in revenue in a month, Amazon is going to open up the gates and you're going to be able to get auto approved in these brands much easier. I'm currently working with a couple of sellers that have brand new fresh accounts that were made within the last 2 weeks, and this method has allowed them to reach over $1,000 in revenue within their first week of selling products. Now, what we do is we get these products, list them FBM almost immediately, and start selling through. We're not focused on that 30% ROI target. We're just trying to make a little bit of money while building our trust with Amazon. Remember, this is a long-term game. We're not trying to make millions overnight. We're going to build our trust with Amazon over a couple months. I'd say 1 to 3 months. And then after that, we're going to see the results of this process, and we're going to be able to get approved in those bigger brands where all that big profit lies. So what I would do is reverse source all those sellers, 0 to 10 reviews, then reverse those products that you also found profitably in their storefronts. Now, with this being said, make sure you're checking the data for break even. You can see this in SellerAmp right here. Check for break even, check the low points in the Keepa graph. We do this because we want to make sure that with pushing lower margins, 10 to 15% as our minimum, we don't want to go into the area of losing money. This isn't a process where it's going to cost us money. It's going to be a process of slow profit, just building trust. So this method really only applies to newer sellers that are trying to get their foot in the door and don't have much selling experience. This is what you have to do to build trust with Amazon and get approved in all these bigger categories and brands. So with that being said, for anyone who is currently selling on Amazon already and they are having trouble with getting ungated, I'm going to show you a couple of extra things on top of that that'll help you get approved in these larger categories, those 100, 200, 300 unit ungates. So I'm going to show you guys some secret sauce. So we have a website right here, commonly known as Vitacost. Everyone knows this website. They have lots of good deals and sales, but some of these brands are just so weird and you can't find them anywhere. But I found one website that almost has every single brand on Vitacost, and it covers those 1, 2, 3, 400 unit ungates. So what we're going to do is Google Frontier Co-op Wholesale, and we're going to come right here. So you will need an LLC and your EIN to get approved for this website. Now that should only cost you $200 to $300 depending on your state, but it's going to be well worth it in the long run, especially if you want to treat this as a real business. But you can go to brands and they have all of these smaller brands, these more organic brands, and it's all organized. They have Dr. Bronner's, Burt's Bees, anything you could think of. They have all of these brands, and this website is tested and will get you approved in anything above those 100 unit ungates. Now, another good site is going to be Winers Ltd. This one has a lot of travel size stuff. This will help you do those 1 to 400 unit ungates for very cheap. A lot of these units only cost between $1 and $2, so you're not looking at a big loss, and you should be able to liquidate these easy on a smaller listing or another platform. So how exactly do you find websites like this that'll get you ungated in those 100+ unit categories? Well, it's very straightforward and simple. Most people just overthink it, and then once they figure out how to do it, they just don't want to put in that extra work of submitting their wholesale application, getting approved, and then selling the products. But guys, let me tell you, it's very straightforward. It's very simple. All you have to do, so let's say pet ingestibles, you need to find something that's under that category. Just type in pet wholesaler, pet distributor on Google, pet distributor near me. You're going to get thousands of results of wholesalers that carry pet food. And it's very simple. Fill out a wholesale form, wait and see if you get approved. If you don't hear anything back, give them a call, open your account, and boom, it's that simple. We're not going to be focused on the prices. We're just going to be focused on the lowest dollar amount it'll cost you to get ungated in that category. Now, ungating comes at a cost. Nowadays, with these 400 unit requirements, you might break even or take a small loss to get ungated in these brands or categories, but do the math, see if it makes sense to go for the ungate in those categories based on how much profit you can make in that category or brand. I've seen people take up to $1,000 loss just to get ungated in a specific category because these categories can yield you tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in profit. This is exactly the work that most people don't want to do. They don't want to play the slow game. They don't want to get ungated and play this out so that a year from now, they'll be making six figures, but they just don't want to do the work up front. They see it as losing money and not as a long-term investment. Amazon is constantly evolving every single year, new policy changes, and we as sellers just have to adapt. There's always going to be something new that we have to figure out how to overcome and then use that to our advantage in order to make more money. In this case, most sellers aren't going to put the work in to get ungated. So for the people who do put in the work, that just means less competition for you. So more money in your pockets. Now, this leads me to talk about invoices getting denied. So it's very common that Amazon uses AI and bots to review these applications, and sometimes you'll have a perfect invoice and it'll still get denied. So what you need to do is you just got to make a few changes. As in changes, I do not mean altering your invoice. That is against the Amazon TOS and you will get your account deactivated. What I mean is tweak your invoice name. So if you wrote, let's say, bonkers invoice 12345, you could write bonkers invoice Amazon. Just change up the wording a little bit just so it's a different file name so the system recognizes it differently. You can also turn your invoice upside down. I've done that before. Or you can print it out on paper and highlight stuff. You just need to be able to communicate with Amazon that this invoice is legit and it meets all the requirements. Another thing I do is in the case log, don't hit reapply in your case log under your selling application. Open your case log and reopen that case and then upload it and tell them to send your application to manual review. Don't hit reapply. It's just going to go straight to the AI. Actually open the case log, submit your invoice again, and type up a small sentence saying, hey, my invoice is good. Check here for 10 units. I highlighted here. Just explain to Amazon what you're trying to show them in the simplest terms as possible, and hopefully it'll get approved. Now, if it gets denied, it might take 10, 20, 30 more submissions, but this is the stuff that you need to be on top of, submitting every single day, and eventually it will get approved. Amazon's ungating system is flawed. It's not perfect. It's broken, but these are the things that we have done over the past couple of months that have worked. It's proven, it's tried and true, and it does work. What actually matters is your consistency with submitting these applications and not giving up and being very persistent with getting this done. The moment you give up on it is when that opportunity closes. Some last minute tricks and tips that I have: always submit your invoice as a PDF. Try and have your invoice number in the title name and have the brand or the category in the invoice name as well. If it gets kicked back the first time, ask them to send it to manual review. Change at least one thing up every single invoice you submit. Other than that, it's just going to come down to how consistent you are with ungating. Try not to send order confirmations for your ungate, such as like a Walgreens order confirmation. Now, it can work, but your chances of getting denied are much higher. I've noticed that Amazon doesn't like when invoices say order on them. They like when the word invoice is on it, but there's only a few sites that actually have invoice on it compared to order confirmation. I know Target has worked. They say invoice on it. A couple other websites do. You just kind of have to play with it. Don't be afraid to try websites for ungating. Always check the return policy on things, because if you don't get ungated, you can return this stuff. Be careful on food and perishables, because you cannot return this stuff in most cases. But if you do get approved, don't make it a habit of always returning this stuff back to the store. That's how retailers come down with additional policies, and then we end up getting smoked in the long run, and then that's when they tighten down and you won't be able to order in bulk and things like that. Find a listing, break even, or lose just a little bit of money on it. So that's the full ungating guide for 2025. Once you're ungated, the doors to higher profits opens right up, and you're going to have more control over your business. And remember, Amazon FBA is a long game. Most sellers get denied and then they give up on ungating for that brand or category. This just leaves a ton of profit on the table for those sellers who are willing to stay consistent and put in the work. If you do this from 6 months to a year from now, you're really going to thank yourself, because the doors to 10K plus a month are going to be wide open. And if you want my help personally setting up your roadmap to scale fast, check the description and apply for my one-on-one program. And don't forget to subscribe. I drop Amazon FBA videos every single week. That's all for now. I'll see you guys in the next one.